Hi everybody, old Gare out here at the Fishing Shack, and welcome to this week's Fishing Chums Fishing Report and Fishing Show. Boy, how you doing? Big weekend, Memorial Weekend, the first big weekend, the long weekend of the spring and summer. And we hope you're going to be able to get out to one of our beautiful Ozark lakes and just enjoy yourself. Forget about the virus for a few days and just go have fun. How about that? Hey, we have a good show for you. Be sure to go straight through with us because Kathy and I have selected some wonderful photos for you at the end of the program with our fishing stroll photos. It's real good, a lot of fun, a lot of kid stuff today. And I want to thank the thousands of viewers who viewed us last week on the program on YouTube or Facebook. Thank you very much. Well, you know, we have pretty good fishing, but how about this doggone high water? Golly molly, we hate that. Seems like every year we're having high water about this time, and it's really sad. And my heart goes out to all my folks and all the chummers over in Bull Shoals. My golly, it's like over 30 feet high, 31 or 32 feet above normal pool. That's a lot of water. Feel sorry for all my people out there at the marinas that have to put up with this every year. Gosh darn, that's a sad thing. Gee, it really is. And we have a lot of high water at Table Rock and Bull Shoals, as I mentioned. Most of our lakes are high, so we're just going to have to get through that. But some of the boat ramps are closed. I may not say closed, but they're not usable. In fact, Carla and I went out the other day and used Moonshine Beach, and that's no problem putting in there. So just kind of plan ahead where you're going to go put your boat in this weekend because a lot of high water. Well, let's get with this show today. My gosh, I'm all excited. I got my new Flicker Minnow baits in. Ooh, look at that color on that rascal. Chartreuse orange. Ooh, I can't wait to get out there and get with it because there's been some nice walleye caught here in the Ozarks. We'll be talking about that here in a few minutes. All right, let's go out to Beaver Lake. You know, that water temperature's in the mid 60s, 65 to 67. Even had a report of a 68, but the lake is high. Over there at Beaver, we have had a lot of water, and golly, some areas got a little trash moving through it, so be careful going out to Beaver this weekend. Watch for the floaters. Some areas a little bit dirty, but overall, there's been some pretty nice fish caught at Beaver this week. In fact, I was visiting with Richard Lee Rusher from the Custom Adventure Guide Service. He fishes a lot down below the dam, and there's water coming over the dam, but it's still fishable there. In fact, here's a couple photos. Boy, I love this photo of this walleye, and look at this young man. I'm just going to show you 2 or 3 quick photos of the fishing down below. They've been picking up some walleye on occasion by trolling either flicker minnows or flicker shads, and they've been picking up some trout. Slowed down a little bit. They're still picking up trout down there on Berkeley Power eggs, or they've been using some spoons. So try the trout fishing and troll with these flicker shads, and you have a chance of picking up a walleye or 2 or 3 or 4, I hope. And out on the main lake, look at here. The guide services are out there busy for the weekend, and look at these stripers just caught and some hybrids the other day. And they're kind of scattered, I understand, the stripers out there. The guides have to look for them, but they do find them off some of the big points. And we've had several reports of stripers being caught this week, but they are working for them a little bit. And the stripers are good, like I mentioned, and they've been picking up some crappie, but they're not so much scattered. But with the high water, they're not as shallow as they were. You may want to find them in around 15 to maybe even 25 feet of water. And that doesn't mean you cannot catch them up shallow, but just kind of don't be afraid if you're shallow fishing and not doing any good. Just get back off some drop-offs around some brush in 15 to maybe 25 feet of water, and you may get some. The bass fishing has been pretty good at Beaver. They've been picking up some fish on shaky head jigs. Swim baits are good, and I've had some reports of slow rolling spinner baits and crankbaits out there as well. Okay, let's go out to Table Rock. The lake is high. Daggone it, some of the put-ins, as I like to call them, the boat ramps are covered. But do a little bit of homework and find out where you want to go put the boat in this weekend. In some areas, there's some floaters. Watch the surface when you're boating down the lake. and the overall water clarity, except the upper ends and some of the creek areas, is good. Out on the main lake, a little stained in areas, but overall the water clarity is good. Carla and I put in the other day at Moonshine Beach, and there's no problem with that boat ramp. And of course, down by the dam in that area, the water clarity is very good. And that meant, just mentioning Moonshine Beach, we fished the other day for walleye, didn't do much good, but here's a photo of Carla, because I want to show this photo because the bluegill are moving pretty close to the banks on the bluffs. And if you want to just take the kids out this weekend, or mom and dad, just go out and catch a few fish, go to the bluffs, just get you some ultralights, and maybe just some little worms, wax worms, or just night crawlers, and use part of a night crawler on a bare hook, and just put a split shot up above it, maybe a float if you want to, and fish these bluffs where the kids will have a ball catching these bluegill. Like Carla, look at the nice bluegill. I love the bluegill fish. Okay, we want to go to my buddy Jordan Lear was out with his friend Adam the other day fishing a tournament on Table Rock, and look at these beautiful smallmouths that they caught. Boy, I tell you, beautiful, beautiful smallmouths are being caught right now at Table Rock. Jordan Lear, my gosh, he can fish anywhere and catch fish. Okay, Michael Ryan was out the other day. Look at this beautiful bass he caught on Table Rock. Good going, Michael. And I'll tell you what, Stephen Gilbert was out the other day, and he caught not only this beautiful bass, but he backed it up with a big old catfish. So Stephen, way to go. And speaking of catfish, I just visited my old buddy Catfish Rick Ellis. He's been camping out there on Table Rock up in the James. Of course, that lake is up, but they've been catching at times a lot of white bass by trolling for them. But they're catching several cats right now, and it seems like bluegill, or cut shad, I should say, and cut perch has been catching the fish for the catfish. But anyway, Roman Ray was out, part of the Ray fishing family, and look at this beautiful bass he caught up there. And I know he catches a lot of catfish, but he takes time out to catch a big old bass on once in a while. Good going, Roman. Okay, John sent me this photo of his son-in-law, Danny, and he was out walleye fishing the other evening at Table Rock, caught these two beautiful walleye. Just brings me to note that the walleye are just starting to move, coming out of the river areas and starting to go to the points, and they're catching fish on dragging like a night crawler harness, or also trolling your flicker shads or flicker minnows. Just get out there with your electronics, cruise back and forth on these points. When you see any kind of activity, if the walleye seem to be down around 8 or 10 feet of water, go to the flicker shad or flicker minnow like a number 7. But a lot of times you'll need to go to a 9, and I've even used flicker minnow number 11s trolling for them if they're down a little bit deeper. Some nice walleye have been caught at Table Rock. Okay, what else is going on? I do want to remind you at Table Rock, the crappie fishing is pretty well overspawned, done with their spawning, but you're still catching crappie. You may have to back off the banks, try the banks, don't overlook the banks, but back off to the nearest brush piles and try a little vertically fishing in some of the brush piles in maybe 15, 18 feet of water. And they've been picking up some crappie around the docks at times as well. And they've been picking up, like I said, the bluegill good on the bluffs. And the bass fishing, take the whole tackle box this weekend because they're catching bass on a variety of baits. Shaky heads, jigs have been doing real good. Ned rig, do not overlook the Ned rig fishing this weekend. And they've been picking up some fish kind of halfway back into the pocket. Some of these fish are coming out. Slow rolling spinner baits and crank baits and swim baits. Do not overlook swim baits. And I know you can get bit out of Table Rock. Some nice fish are being caught. Beautiful smallmouth, a lot of Kentuckys, ooh boy, some largemouth. It looks like Table Rock's going to be a good spot to be for the upcoming weekend. And don't overlook jig fishing around some of the docks and swim bait fishing around some of the docks at Table Rock as well. Taneycomo, the water temperature was 47 degrees out there. They've been fishing fairly good. They've been picking up some rainbow trout above average. I've heard of anywhere from 16, 17 to 20-inch rainbows. That's really nice size quality. And they've been picking these fish up anywhere from up in the upper end down by the dam, I should say, and also down around Cooper Creek, also Monkey Island, all the way down to the landing. And so I've heard of spoons. You can slow roll spoons. Jigs are still good at Lake Taneycomo, just slow rolling jigs. And some little crankbaits. Might want to troll little crankbaits. And they've been picking up some fish on jerk baits as well. Live bait, go to the minnows, don't overlook that. And they're still picking up some fish on night crawlers. You might want to use a half of night crawlers. For years, probably over 30 years, I've been using night crawlers at Taneycomo. And I don't use those big rigs. I use 4-pound test line. I just put a little split shot about a foot up above just a gold hook, put a half a night crawler on. Now the size of the split shot depends on how fast the current is running, and you just want it tick in the bottom. And boy, that's a good method. I've been using this method for over 30 years. It catches a lot of rainbow trout. Once in a while, a big old brown as well. Okay, let's go over at Bull Shoals. The water temperatures in the mid-60s, up to 68 degrees. And here's 2 or 3 photos. I've got a couple walleye photos I want to show you. One comes out of the Pontiac Cove Marina at the lower end, kind of the lower end of Bull Shoals. Boy, I tell you what, I love the walleye fish in that area, in the Pontiac area, this time of year. And they've been trolling flicker shads or flicker minnows, and they've been using night crawler harnesses catching fish off some of the points. It fluctuates a little bit. Some days, of course, it's like, well, that's fishing. Some days it's better than others, but if you hit it right, just like these photos, here's a couple photos of walleye that's been caught out at Bull Shoals in that Pontiac area this week. And the bass fishing's good. Look at this, Del Coven Fishing Guide Service. They always catch fish, and they've been picking up some nice smallmouth and bass on a variety of baits. Swim baits have been good, I understand. Jerk baits are still good. They've been picking up some fish as well, I think, on some Ned rigs and the shaky head jigs. And they're kind of coming out of the spawning areas. Those points and secondary points have been real good. Sometimes you can slow roll a spinnerbait and maybe a wiggle wart. Try a crankbait. And don't overlook topwater fishing. And I'd want to back up just a minute over on Table Rock. In the morning hours, there's been some pretty decent topwater fishing on spooks. And also, they've been picking up some fish on just your popping baits. I tell you, any popping bait will work, both on Bull Shoals and Table Rock. And they have been picking up some crappie at Bull Shoals over the brush piles. Some people are finding them shallow, but a lot of people are still fishing deep for them over the brush, jigging minnows or just minnows straight down over the end of the brush. And so Bull Shoals looks good. A lot of high water, gosh, over 30 feet high. I feel for you guys out there, but the guys who are going out, they're catching fish. So try Bull Shoals this weekend. All right, let's go out to Stockton. The water temperature is around 61 or 2 degrees, 63 perhaps. Our old fishing chum buddy Aaron David was out the other day at Stockton, picked up this nice walleye. And here's another photo of his limit. And I tell you what, you can catch some fish out at Stockton this weekend. Get down to the lower end, fish the points. Some people start shallow and go deep. Other people, I like to start deep, around 30 feet of water, and kind of work my way up, use my electronics looking for walleye. And jigging night crawlers or just bare hooking night crawlers or night crawler harnesses are working. But if you hit the right spot at the right time, you can catch yourself a quick limit of walleye out at Stockton. And they've been trolling flicker shads or flicker minnows once again, and picking up some fish as well. So that's out at Stockton. Walleye fishing continues to be good. And our friends over at Tandem Fly Guide Service, gosh darn, they always get into the fish. They've been catching crappie this week and walleye. And here's a couple photos. I love this photo with the older couple like myself. They took out guiding the other day, and they really got into some nice crappie. Great photos, guys. Great photos. And Jamie Newton was out the other day, and he picked up this nice bass. The bass fishing's been pretty good out at Stockton. They're using a variety of baits, jerk baits, swim baits have been good, and we've heard of Ned rigs and shaky heads, and just kind of take the whole tackle box. A little bit of a top water bait out there on a pop R, I understand, as well. So that's Jamie Newton. Nice bass, my friend. Pomme de terre, Pomme de terre is around 65 degrees. I've heard all the way up to 67 degrees. And Pommy's been a little bit slower than what it's been the last couple of weeks. They've got a lot of water out there. They're still catching crappie. I have heard of some crappie being still shallow, but that's kind of coming to an end. Jig and minnows. Minnows seem to be a little bit better than jigs. And put a little color on those jigs. You might want like a fluorescent hot pink head, followed up with a chartreuse body. You might want to put a minnow to it, but you may want to go a little bit deeper. I've heard up to around 15 to 18 feet of water, but you may still pick up some shallow water fish, but don't be surprised if you have to go a little bit deeper this weekend. Bass fishing has been pretty good at Pomme de terre. For the few people fishing out there, they've been doing spinner baits and a little bit of crankbait fishing, and I understand they've been having a little topwater bite early in the morning, like the popper popping type baits. Okay, let's go out to Truman. There we around 63 degrees on the surface. They have some water out there, of course, but they're still catching crappie back into the creek arms, about halfway back, and anywhere from 10 to 12 to 15 feet of water. Here's our fishing chum buddy, Tom Clark. Look at these nice crappie he caught. He ended up with a nice limit out of Truman just a couple days ago. And here we go to our photo of the week. Hey, Sean Stark, he was out the other day. Hey, he's a chummer, and look at this beautiful 18-inch crappie. Look at that thing. Went over 3.5 pounds. Good going, Sean. That's a beautiful, beautiful fish. Out at Truman, our photo of the week. Gosh darn, that's a big old fish. I love that. And if you want to go catfishing, go to Angler's Edge Guide Service. My buddy Jordan Lear, he's been out. Look at this great photo of these cats that he caught the other day. He and his party. He always gets his people into good catfishing at Truman. And I tell you what, I fished with this guy. He's got a great boat. He's got it all rigged up, everything you need. And I tell you, if you need a guide, he'll get you into him. I promise you that, and you'll fish in comfort. So good going, Jordan Lear, my buddy, and Angler's Edge Guide Service. Okay, let's go out to Lake of the Ozarks. I've had a lot of photos from Lake of the Ozarks this week. It's really been, the crappie fishing has really been on fire this week at the Lake of the Ozarks. For some people, are going out there in the creek arms, back into the coves, finding brush piles on the points, some of the brush piles. Around the docks, they've been catching them as well. And in fact, Stephen Griffin was out the other day. Look at this beautiful crappie that he caught. Good going, Steve. Beautiful, beautiful crappie at Lake of the Ozarks. And Eric Webster was out as well. Back to beautiful crappie. Gosh, you guys are catching some nice fish. And Steve Earle was out with this nice crappie. And if you want to do a little bass fishing, the chummer was out. My chumming buddy from here at Fishing Chums, Matt Sanders, was out the other day and had this beautiful bass, the biggest bass he ever caught, I think he said, out Lake at the Ozarks. So again, the crappie fishing, you can catch them halfway back into the creek arms. I've had reports shallow. I've had reports in 10 or 12, 15 feet of water. I've had reports off the points in some of the brush piles and secondary points, and back in some of the big coves in the brush piles. So look at Lake of the Ozarks for crappie fishing, all those great photos. And by the way, the bass fishing has been good. They've been picking up fish on jerk baits. They've been kind of slow rolling those jerk baits and some swim baits, and they've been picking up some fish on, at times, a little bit of a topwater bait out there on poppers or spooks. Norfolk, the water temperature out there today was 67 degrees. Our friends over in Arkansas, the lake is high. Fish are kind of scattered, I understand. The stripers are kind of all over the place. I've heard of stripers being caught off some of the main lake points on live bait and or spoons, and we've had reports of some stripers being caught back in the creek arms as well. So you never know where you may run into those stripers. And the bass fishing in kind of still all phases of the bass spawn, but they are picking up fish on floating worms, plastic worms. They're picking up some fish on jerk baits, and they've been picking up some fish on swim baits out there. So Norfolk looks good. They're still catching crappie out there too. Not so much shallow now, but don't overlook the shallow fishing. but down around 10, 12, 15 feet of water on jig and minnows. So a lot of water out there, but the fishing has been pretty good for the people that's been going out there. Hey, we're going to do something different today. I want to get a shout out to the Bagnell Dam group, the lake group. Gosh darn, the dam group out there. Well, I don't mean the dam group, but this Bagnell Dam. Todd Simpson was out the other day fishing that area and picked up this beautiful spotted bass. Isn't that a good looking photo? Good looking fish. That's it. And Mike Martin was out and he caught this beautiful catfish down at Bagnell Dam. So the fishing's pretty good there as well. Well, that's our report for our Memorial Day weekend. God bless you for being here on the Big Little Show. Be sure to tell your friends and family about it. And for you people that's watching us over on YouTube, I tell you what, be sure to like and share and subscribe. There you go, Kathy. Bingo. And then if you have any photos you want to send us on YouTube, go to our email. Email us at fishingchums@gmail.com. And for all of our thousands of people that we have over on Facebook, God bless you. Boy, a lot of you people, thousands of viewers each week, and it usually runs around 15,000. And God bless you all for joining us. Keep spreading the word. And if you would like to join our group, go to our Facebook group, Fishing Chums Facebook group. And that way you can have a lot of fun with us. We kind of carry on with each other, tell fish stories, show photos, and it's a good place to send your photos. So join us over on Facebook on our Fishing Chums group. And be sure to like and share. And once again, backing this up, if you have any other information, you can always email us at fishingchums@gmail.com. That's our show for the day. God bless you guys going out this weekend, and gals. Be sure to keep an eye on the surface because we have a lot of high water. You want to watch those doggone floaters, and just be safe. Look out for yourself, but look out for the other guy as well. Kathy, boy, we have some great photos coming up, and if I don't see you out on the lake this weekend, I'll see you next week right here on the Big Little Show. God bless you all. Kathy, roll those awesome photos.